So today is a very special day. I am so excited to have a few moments with Tamesa Rogers, Chief People Officer. I am so inspired by the impact you've had and your story and what's coming next for you. Tamesa, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me. This is my very first podcast, so I'm super excited.
Yeah, and I am super excited to have you. And so, before we jump in and really talk about the importance of leading into what scares you, which I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this, whether it's in your career or in your life or when you're leading your teams, I thought I would ask, you've really climbed the ranks and got up to the top echelon of your career. So, you know, was there a person or a situation or anything that inspired you, or maybe even anything that happened that was difficult that as a young person you decided to overcome it? What inspired you to be so passionate about people?
So I think what started it, and not to make it too much of a therapy session, but what started it was I started kindergarten in the middle of the school year. Um, the school that I was attending would not let me start before I was 5, and I turned 5 in January. So rather than have me start the following September, they allowed me to start in January. So when I arrived, of course, everyone had already made friends. They were playing, and so I immediately felt sort of outside of um, what was going on. And the first week, I would say recesses and lunches, I would hide in the bathroom because it was so scary to just go and try to fit in. So I think that experience is still the little girl inside of me that one first wanted to make sure that I was fitting in, but also that it was scary to do new things. And so I think from that, I also developed a determination like, I just will not fail. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be less than sure about decisions that I'm making. But once I was in it, I was going to succeed and I was going to do whatever I needed to do to succeed.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I definitely don't think that you made this into a therapy session. And I also think that it's very valuable for leaders, to think about what transpired during that impressionable time of your life, which is usually between, let's say, 4 and 14,
Right.
and because it can really change the course of our life. And it could be something positive. It could be something like you witnessed a family member or someone that I interviewed said they had a grandmother who was before her time and she was a scientist, and all these are, you could have someone or something inspire you to greatness, or you could have kind of a scary situation, coming into kindergarten and in the middle of the year and not having any friends. And it seems like that experience could have really made you even more compassionate and empathetic to what it might be like for other people not to be immediately included.
Absolutely. I usually, when I go into spaces, particularly those where I am familiar with the space or the people, but even if I'm not, I usually try to search out for somebody who looks a little unsure so that I can kind of buddy up with them and be the person that makes them feel a little bit more comfortable. So it absolutely encouraged me to be a lot more compassionate about people, particularly those who at least appear to look a little unsure.
Yeah. So, and that is such a great quality of a leader, just making sure that other people are seen and feel
Mhm.
valued. And it really translates into actually a great ROI and profitability, right? Because
Right,
it makes people have a sense of obligation and to feel safe. And
right.
so, kind of changing directions a little bit, it's not easy, obviously, for a woman to make it to a C-level position. So I would imagine that you found yourself being the only or the double or triple only or however many onlys that you were in a room. So what was the mindset that really helped you to keep going?
So I think a couple of things. I'm always prepared, so I know that I am supposed to be there. I think also the determination that I have from what I explained in kindergarten to things that have happened through my life really caused me to know that I could count on myself, that I could. Uh, I had grit, I had tenacity. I was just refusing to fail. So whenever I show up, I know that I'm prepared. I know that I'm qualified, and I'm willing and ready to demonstrate that.
Mhm. So it sounds like you do the mental work and the tactical work.
Correct.
Ensure, yeah, 100%. Because one thing that I talk about too a lot in coaching, to your point, is that what we're thinking tends to come out of our mouth. So if we are doubtful or unsure or anything like that, or maybe we feel like an imposter or what have you, then it's going to come out in our voice. And it's really hard for other people to be confident in us when we're not confident in ourselves.
Yeah.
So,
And I think even with that self-talk, if you take a moment and really just unravel it, why am I feeling this way right now? Is it true? And if it's true that you're not prepared, then that's one thing. But if you're prepared, if you're qualified, then it's sort of like a battle that you have with yourself. You can't always help how you feel or the thoughts that come into your head, but you can definitely analyze them and rebut them to yourself to help give yourself a little bit of encouragement so that you can move forward.
yes, 100%. And like sometimes it helps to say, rather than I am, kind of I notice, like I notice I'm feeling that way. And just to your point, just questioning yourself. Like for anybody listening, if you're going in to ask for a raise or throwing your hat into the arena for a new role and you're a little doubtful if you're qualified or if you're worthy or if you're any of these things, or you're hesitating, I mean, to Tamesa's point, just really challenging yourself and asking if you know this to be true can be really powerful. And so we were talking a little bit before we went live on really your belief in leaning into what scares you. And sometimes this can happen internally within an organization. So it might be scary to innovate, it might be scary to speak up, it might be scary to make a big ask. But there are some things also external to our companies and our personal lives that can be scary. So, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think personally, there's lots of changes that happen over the last year, almost coming upon a year. I left my last company, and there's a lot of uncertainty around what's next. And I think for those of us who struggle with control issues or having a plan A, B, and C, it's hard to not have a plan and figure out what you're going to do next. And I think giving yourself an opportunity to feel what you're feeling, understand what that is. And sometimes, at least in my case, I needed to take a break. I needed a month or two to just decompress, come down. And then I was clear-headed enough to figure out what it is that I wanted to do next and come up with a plan. And I think oftentimes when we have those types of uncertainties or challenges, if we just allow ourselves to take a beat and kind of really know that it's okay to not have the right answer right away. It's okay to give yourself some grace and some space, and the answers typically come.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that might be the title to your next book that you weren't sure that you were writing. Building Grace in Space. Like, I love that so much. And so, well, can you share a little bit about what you have been doing over the last year? And for anyone listening, thinking that this really makes sense to them, what would be the first step?
So when I knew I was leaving my company, I had all these plans about what I was going to do. I was going to improve my golf game. I was going to learn. I downloaded Babbel. I paid for the first year. I was going to learn a new language. I had all the plans. But when it came down to it, the first day that I had the world as my oyster, as they would say, I was just tired. I ended up spending about the first month on the couch, like really just allowing myself space because I had no energy to do anything. It was sort of like my last bit of energy got me to the finish line. And where I thought I was going to be rejuvenated at the other end, I was really just tired. So I spent a lot of time just doing nothing. It took me a couple of weeks to not have the first thing that I did in the morning when I woke up was check my email because that was something that I had done for 20 years. So even that, allowing my body to kind of purge what it had been through was important. And so after that first month or so, then I started traveling. I went to Europe for a couple weeks. I enjoyed just experiencing some of the things that I would not have been able to do in the previous years. I took a summer vacation, which was something that I hadn't had since college. And then after that, I was clear headed. I was able to sit down and really try to figure out what still drives you, what gives you purpose, what is it that you want to do you want to continue being an operator, do you want to move to consulting, what is it that you want to do? And I was able to kind of map it out. I talked to a number of people. I started networking. I really tried to get my head back in the game, and the energy and the excitement that I had was I had not seen it in a while. And I didn't even recognize the difference because I was so used to go, go, go that I didn't recognize that even in my going, there was a decline.
Mhm.
So I'm so glad that I have had this time because now even my friends, they're like, you're so much lighter now than you were even 3 months ago. So I really appreciate being able to have the time to really figure out what I want to do next.
Mhm. Yeah, and that oftentimes is a big question, the what's next. And so, for anyone listening who says, well, I can't take a year off or I can't take a few months off,
Right.
and it just listening to what you did, it seems like you could also kind of collapse it into creating some time during the
Right.
day, some white space during the day,
Right.
or half a day, or take 2 days on a weekend coming up in the next couple of weeks to really, I don't want to say do nothing, but like to rest. And I think what a
Correct.
lot of people don't understand is that what you did in resting, it doesn't feel productive, but it's actually remarkably productive.
Exactly. When you allow yourself some space, even if it's just a couple of hours, to not worry about anything. Don't think about what's next on your task list. Don't think about all the things that you need to do, but you just let your mind kind of just roam wherever it wants to go, as long as it's not going to places that are going to stress you out because you're once again recounting the things that you need to do. But if you let it just breathe, then you'll find that creative ideas will start to come. And if you can get sort of a habit of, even if it's an hour a week, where you kind of shut everything out. um, I like to take baths, even if it's just taking a bath, turn on some jazz, light a candle, drink wine or water, and just allow your mind to kind of just float. I think you'll find that after a while, the creativity and the energy will return.
Yeah, that's such a great reminder. And so, can you share one or two things in 2024 that scared you?
Yeah, not having a job. That that scared me, because like, I left with no plan, and so that was scary. I think the other thing that I did that scared me, as I vowed to lean into what scared me, was really networking. I'm a bit of an introvert, I had spent a lot of time with one company where I was familiar with the people. The networking that I did was really intra-company. I was internally focused. So I had not spent a lot of time being external and doing a lot of networking, but I knew that I would now need that. So embarking on meeting people, going to events, going to conferences. It was scary because it was new. I didn't know anyone. It tapped into that 5-year-old fear, and I pushed through because one, I knew that me being afraid was not going to serve me. I knew that not having a network was not going to serve me. So I pressed through because I knew that one, there was nothing to be afraid of, but also that there was going to be everything that I wanted on the other side. So I think I'm most proud of myself for just jumping in and doing a lot of networking, meeting a lot of people, doing a lot of things, which also invigorated me to what's next.
Mhm. So it seems like it was a combination of having a lot of faith, and also taking action.
Yeah, and just reminding myself, like I mentioned earlier, unraveling what the fear is. There was nothing that was going to hurt me by going to networking events. There was nothing that was going to hurt me by meeting new people. But I think the more I did it, then the more it changed from, oh no, what's going to happen, to like, oh well, who will I meet today? What will I learn today? And so even facing my fear in that way, or leaning into what scares me, there was such a benefit because now I actually enjoy meeting new people. So I think, like I said, when you push past what it is that you're afraid of, you find that there's so much on the other side.
Yeah, 100%. And I always like to say that, take the what ifs and convert them into imagine ifs.
Right,
And just that gentle reminder can help flex the muscle and do the exact thing that you are talking about.
right.
And so, what advice would you have for someone listening who is kind of on the precipice of making a decision about something that scares them?
Figure out where the fear is coming from. Is it justified? Like, is it because also you want to listen to your intuition. So is it a justified fear that is telling you that you need not to pursue it? If it is not a justified fear, try to figure out what the concerns are. Be prepared, and do it afraid. I think that's one of my favorite sayings, is do it afraid, because it doesn't discount the fact that there is fear, but it does discount the fact that you don't have to let that stop you. So I would say be prepared. If it and learn the game. Whatever you're embarking on, whatever you're trying, there is a set of rules. Figure
Mhm.
out what those rules are, and then play to win. Like, just refuse to fail. So if you get in, you figure out what the rules are, and then you set your strategy to play to win.
I love that, play to win. Like, you're definitely speaking my language now. And so what's next for you? And as we come into the new year, and what would be important to you, and if we had a magic wand, what would transpire in the next couple months?
So I am looking for other opportunities. I would love to be able to be with an organization where I can affect some sort of change, where I can help build good relationships, and I can help solve problems. I think those are the things that I enjoy doing. I love being a change agent.
That is so great. Well, Tamesa Rogers, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. Cheers to you leaning in and being bold. And I have no doubt that great things are coming in 2025. And I look forward to following your journey.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.